Am I the a-hole for making all the women in my family leave after they all showed up to my wedding wearing white? I, male 33, have a large family. Mostly aunts and female cousins aside from mom, stepmom, stepsister, and grandmother. I don't know how to say this, but all those women I mentioned above are into teasing and joking. They formed a unit, which I admit is kind of toxic, and they tease and roast every new woman that enters the family by marriage by setting up tests to see if they deserve to be part of the family, or roast their looks and styles to the point of breaking confidence and self-esteem down. Then after a few months of teasing, they'd announce that they've finally welcomed them into the family. The newest member would join in on the teasing too, which is crazy as my dad says. When I first introduced my then girlfriend, now wife, I made it clear that I didn't want any of the women in the unit to come at her or harass her, not even a single word. They went behind my back and roasted her looks and job, and I discovered they've been doing it on Facebook. I had them apologize one by one after they gave the "we're just testing the water to see if she's capable to be part of the family" excuse. They didn't want to apologize, but once I said I wouldn't invite any of the units unless they apologize, including my mom, everyone immediately apologized and brought gifts for my wife. First of them was my stepmom and my sister-in-law. My wedding was 2 weeks ago. There was talk about the women in the family wanting to pull a prank on my wife by wearing white, and called it the ultimate test to see how my wife react. My brother warned me, so I announced that if any one of them showed up in white, I would have them kicked out, including mom. They said this wasn't true, and that they'd never do such a thing. But then they showed up to my wedding one by one, wearing white dresses, and each and every one of them was told to leave after they tried giving excuses, by either making scenes or getting the man involved. The senior women of the unit who are mom and aunts also showed up in white, but refused to leave. I threatened to take harsher action, and mom was pissed, telling me to step aside, but I didn't let her in. I had her leave while the men of the family were watching stunned. Dad was on my side and supported me a lot. I felt absolutely awful because my wedding was being interrupted by them making scenes. My wife was hurt beyond measure, but the women in the family were pissed. My cousin blasted me in social media later, saying I excluded all the women from the wedding because my wife was so insecure that she couldn't handle another woman's presence at her wedding. I had an argument with them, and mom berated me saying it was supposed to be a prank, but I said they were taking it too far. Mom said it took it too far by kicking them out, because they were trying to get a reaction from my wife to see if she was one of those bridezillas, and were going to change soon as the prank was over. But I ruined my own entire wedding by reacting so aggressively. I stopped talking after she said I had to bring my wife and apologize. I haven't seen a lot of them in 2 weeks, and they've excluded me from everything. Was I the a-hole for how I handled this? Edit. I just want to explain that A, this has been happening for years. But the men in the family are split on this behavior. Some of them encourage it, like my uncle and my cousin's husbands. One is now an ex. And some are against it, like me and my dad and brother. B, the women claim that there's nothing hurtful in what they do, because they claim they're just looking out for us men, and that their goal ultimately is to make sure the women who enter the family are decent. C, my dad always ends up arguing with my mom and grandmother, since they're the ones who started this whole thing with their behavior and attitude towards other women. D, and I'm not sure if I should mention this, but my male cousin, who's a middle schooler, said he'd make sure to leave the country before even meeting any woman because of this, and it made me chuckle. Also, the dresses they showed up in were simple white dresses. Nothing over the top, but still were white dresses. I realized they went ahead with their plans, even after I stated what I'd do in that case.
Story time about how my best friend waxed off my eyebrow in my sleep, so I cut her hair. So a little background information. I was 14 and in 8th grade, and my best friends and I were having a sleepover. And right before we had went to sleep, we were all talking about this one TikTok trend that was going around. It's like this trend where girls would go and put wax on their boyfriends while they were sleeping and then take it off. Well, I didn't think anything of it, so that night I went to sleep. I should have knew this was gonna happen because I'm always the butt of the joke whenever it comes to our friend group. Like, I'm always the one getting picked on. Like, there was this one thing that my friend Ashley saw online. It was like, if you put white nail polish on your teeth, it would make your teeth whiter. So who did they decide to try it out on? Yup, me. And yes, I could have said no, but these were my best friends. I didn't think that they would intentionally hurt me. Anyway, so like I said, I go to sleep and all of a sudden I wake up in the middle of the night to something very, very, very hot on my face. I open my eyes and all of my friends are standing above me with their flashlights on. And then I realized that Ashley has a stick in her hand. Once I realized that there was wax on the other end of the stick, I started screaming. So then Kelsey decides to cover my mouth. She's like, shh, It's not that bad, I promise, like, don't worry. I get up real quick, I run to the bathroom, and there's like this pink transparent wax on my eyebrow. It was about 3 a.m. and we're all sitting there trying to find ways to get this wax off of my fucking eyebrow. Well, then Amber goes, I'm tired of this, grabs it and rips it off my forehead. So I'm crying at this point. Like, I'm in 8th grade, I'm about to have my glow up, and y'all gotta ruin it with taking my eyebrow off. So nobody went to sleep for the rest of the night because they thought that I was gonna do something to them. So I acted all cool. I was like, no, it's fine, I can just draw it on. When in reality, I was going to cut this bitch's hair. So like I said, nobody went to sleep for the rest of the night. I acted like it was okay because I was plotting in my head that I was gonna cut one of their fucking ponytails off. So I go over to their house next week, and every single day that week they were telling me how good my drawn on eyebrow looked. It didn't actually look good, and none of my hairs were growing back. So around 12 o'clock, all of us are ready to go to bed. I'm laying down, pretending that I'm sleeping, and they think I'm sleeping, so they're over there talking shit about me on her bed, Ashley's bed. I wasn't sure which one's eyebrow I should rip off because the one ripped off my eyebrow, but then the other one put the wax on my eyebrow. They were like, she's sleeping. I don't think she's gonna do anything. She doesn't even have the balls to do anything. So around 4 in the morning, everybody is dead asleep. I get up, and Ashley had her hair in a ponytail. So that was easy enough. I grabbed a pair of scissors out of my book bag, and I cut her hair off.
My girlfriend's 23 female friend kissed me, 24 male. But she's threatening to tell girlfriend something else if I say anything. I really don't know what to do. She kissed me in the hallway at my friend's house when we were all drinking last night. My girlfriend was barely getting off from work, so she wasn't there yet. She freaked out when I said I was gonna tell my girlfriend, and she said she'll tell her I pushed myself on her to kiss and touch her. She looked completely serious, as in she will, or she'll say I tried worse on her, then said who will my girlfriend believe since it was just us in the hallway. Everyone else was downstairs. I feel so bad that I didn't tell my girlfriend anything when she got there, and still thinking about it now the next morning. I want to be honest about what her best friend did, but I'm scared she's going to put the blame on me. And now for the update. The last few days have been pretty crazy. For one thing, my girlfriend knows. She was shocked, but I told her the whole thing. Not only about what she did, but the fact that she threatened to lie about me doing worse. And that's why I was afraid to tell her. Also because I was worried how my girlfriend would react. She was shocked and pretty confused, like she wanted to cry. And then I learned something messed up. This isn't the first time her best friend did this. But last time it was her ex-boyfriend from high school. Only her friend told her that it was the guy who kissed her. My girl believed her friend though, and that's why it's the next now. She started crying. We hugged and talked some more. Then things got chaotic. Her now ex-friend decided to stick with her threat and told my girlfriend a completely different version where I forced myself on her. Supposedly covered her mouth and tried to freaking violate her, but she managed to push me off and go with everyone else. Only my girlfriend did believe her lie, and they had a huge fight. Obviously no longer friends, and my girlfriend was pretty devastated. I hated seeing her so hurt, and wished that this didn't have to happen. Then to make everything worse, she stuck to her word and lied to all of our friends about what happened. Made herself the freaking victim and told them my girlfriend is supporting an offender over her own friend. Like seriously, it was freaking crazy. My girlfriend couldn't believe it. That hurt her even more. Our friends had texted her non-stop telling her what an awful person she is, that I'm a freaking monster, and they're encouraging her to file a police report, which she was planning to do because that's what she told her cousins. That lasted a couple days. It was so stupid though, because if something like that even happened, why would you not tell someone right away? At least some of our friends who were at a party didn't seem to buy her story. Not all of them, but at least some. We got sick of this garbage. So my girlfriend went over to her house and she convinced her to admit it was a lie. I don't know how she did that, but my girlfriend said it took a lot of talking. Plus, she managed to catch some holes in her lies. Then an hour later, she got a text from her saying she's sorry about spreading those rumors and asking if they could talk because she doesn't want their friendship to end this way. Yeah, after kissing me without consent, lying about a crime and making my girlfriend seem like the bad guy too, she doesn't want their friendship to end like that? So freaking crazy. It all drained us, to be honest. My girlfriend wasn't in a good place and I felt bad. Tried to be there for her, hugging her whenever she cried and saying how much I love her. We didn't want to do anything for Thanksgiving because of everything, so we came here to stay at a motel by the beach the last 2 days so we could forget about stuff. She's still sad about losing someone she thought she could trust, but I'm sad for my girl. Hoping things get better from here now that she's not around. Edit. To people saying to talk to a lawyer, I realize I probably should. Just so some things are on the record and this can't come back to bite me in the future. I don't know when we'll be back home, but once we get back, I'll try talking to a lawyer. Am I the a-hole for what I said when my husband told his family basically I handled everything in the house? So me, female 26, and my husband, male 29, recently got married. We both contribute to household chores, but me more than him even after we made separate schedule and split chores equally. He'd ask me for favors like fix the kitchen faucet for him, deal with the bugs in the backyard, etc., which are originally his chores. But because he said he had to finish work or complain from being tired, then I'd handle them happily and without hesitation. We were visiting his parents for the first time since we got married. My mother-in-law and I were talking about home duties and whatnot. Then my father-in-law asked my husband how marriage life was treating him, and my husband sighed and said, "Oh man." Then started talking about how exhausted he was from handling almost all responsibilities and taking on so many chores this past week, from fixing the kitchen faucet, dealing with the bugs in the backyard, taking our dogs to the vet, cleaning the entire basement, which are all things I did for him. But clearly he was trying to take credit. It kept on about how he does most chores around the house and working as well, so he had no me time. He said, basically, I handle everything in the house, all smug smiling. I was taken aback completely. I said, hold on, because literally all the stuff he mentioned was done by me. His parents were like, huh? He kept staring at me confused, as I explained in details how I handled each and every one of those chores, which should have originally had been done by him, but he kept making excuses to get out of it. I even shared pictures I took that I posted on Facebook, especially the basement like before/after pictures. Then I told him no more favors from now on if this is how he's gonna play. Silence followed, and the entire family side-eyed my husband as he kept looking away. He didn't say anything till we got home, and that is where he pointed out how I was wrong for how I responded, and should have just either agreed or said nothing at all, but apparently made him feel incompetent in front of his family. We argued, and he apologized for saying what he said, and asked me to apologize so we could move past this. But I refused, and said I was being treated in an unfair manner since I worked hard to do him those favors. Not today, home. He made you look lazy in front of your in-laws. And not only did he lie about taking the brunt of household responsibilities, but he specifically brought up chores that you both know you did. That's not okay. It is purposefully putting you down in front of others. Not a great start to a marriage. This. Not only did he expect you to go along with the lie, he also expects you to apologize for it. Apologize for what exactly? Him playing stupid games? I don't think so. This would be my hill to die on. He put you down to his family to make you look bad because it couldn't come out and be honest. His lies had consequences. One of them having to be his apology for causing an issue, not yours. Your husband is an a-hole. He deserves to feel incompetent because he chose to be that way. You didn't put a gun to his head and tell him to lie. Why should you clean up his mess and apologize? Hell no, OP. Be honest about what though? This is just such a weird thing to lie about that I have to wonder his motivation. Why on earth wouldn't he have just said, actually, we've just kind of been settling in? Or even, meh, I wasn't feeling great this week, so the wife picked up the slack this week. This is his family. They know his character pretty well. I think most adults are past trying to impress mommy and daddy. He literally just went out of his way, for no reason, to make his wife look bad. Not today, home. If he doesn't want to feel incompetent, then he should be incompetent. I never understand people would do this. Like, he knows he does nothing. He knows Opie knows he does nothing. But then he tells bold-faced lies and gets hurt when the truth comes out. Like, if you know the truth is going to make you seem a certain way, then why don't you just shut your mouth? Or put into work you want credit for? He could have even said, it's hard, but Opie has been great, if he wants to play like he contributes. But he chose to lie unprovoked, and is now trying to guilt her into an apology. Just yikes. The only person who made him look bad is himself by lying. Good for you for calling him out and sticking to it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for going to stay with my in-laws after my husband told me I shouldn't be here when I tried to surprise him and getting him in trouble with his family? So, my husband travels a lot for business, so we don't get to see each other as often as I would like, unless I go with him, which isn't always possible. I found out he was going to be in the country his parents live in, and I thought it would be a nice idea to fly there too. so I could surprise him and see my in-laws as well, since I haven't seen my husband since August and my in-laws since 2019. Well, it didn't go down as I had planned. The first thing my husband said when he saw me was, "You shouldn't be here." And when I asked him what he meant by that, all he said was he had a meeting that he was getting late for and left. Honestly, his whole reaction really hurt, since I thought he would be happy to see me, since we haven't seen each other in so long. I ended up going to see my in-laws since my sister-in-law was also visiting her parents, and she kept telling me to come over. When I got there, they were much happier to see me, but noticed I was upset about something. They kept asking me, and I told them about how my husband had reacted. My mother-in-law basically told me I would be staying with them for the duration of my visit, since he couldn't appreciate me coming all this way to see him. My father-in-law sent me a message telling him to come to their house for dinner since I was here, and when he got here, they basically told him off for how he reacted. Once dinner was over, my husband wanted me to come home with him so we could talk about what happened. But my in-laws kept insisting I stay with them instead, and I ended up choosing to stay with them instead of going with him. My husband comes over every single night for dinner and is very obviously angry at me still. We did talk about it through text the day it happened, and my husband was mad that I chose to stay, and that I ran to tattle to his family. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. His reaction is concerning and leaves me wondering if he's got a second family, a second wife, or a mistress. And I also wonder if his family is aware. Yep, first thought. "You shouldn't be here" is a very weird way to react, even if he is busy or stressed. Yes, I'm away from home for college and don't get to see my family. College is hard and I feel stressed all the time. When my parents and brother visit though, it's like the stress disappears, even if it's just for a minute or two, and then the feeling's right back. I would imagine seeing my significant other would elicit an even greater response of joy. I've been at a new job for about a month that requires 50% travel. I was away last week, home this week, and I'm leaving Monday for another week. If my partner showed up at my hotel or office to surprise me partway through the week, I would be overjoyed. Just to show up for the other side of this, I would not be overjoyed at a surprise like this. So I think it's a little unfair for the sub to immediately pile onto this guy for not being stoked about a pretty huge change of plans he has to navigate around now. If Opie had given him some space to get over the initial disgruntlement and heard his side of it rather than bring the in-laws into it, letting them tear into him without hearing his side, and then choosing to stay with them without even hearing his side, there's a decent possibility Opie wouldn't even be here posting this. If I were on a business trip and I already had a general sense of how everything was going to go, and I was on my way out the door, and then my significant other showed up out of the blue without me being able to get her settled in or have time to process what was going on, I'd have to be rattled right before a meeting that I was already running late for. My initial response would be less than warm, let's just say. It would be more along the lines of, "What are you doing here?" Meaning, "I can't pay attention to you right now, and we're not going to have a quality interaction, but now I'm rattled and have to recalibrate," which I can do, but it's going to have to happen after the meeting, and I really wish you hadn't put me in the spot, which could have been easily avoided with a text message that I would have really appreciated. But that's me. I don't think it's fair for Opie to show up out of nowhere, and then be upset that her husband didn't give her the welcome she wanted right before a business meeting. Just because she might have liked such a surprise, doesn't mean everyone is into that. I feel like people who like surprises and change gears easily don't understand people who don't, and then get their feelings hurt like this. Last story. Am I the a-hole for abruptly leaving my boyfriend at his family at dinner after they refused to respect my allergies? I, 19 female, recently got the chance to safely see my boyfriend, 20 male, family for dinner. I work as a paramedic and would reject going to any plans my boyfriend had with me wanting to go see his family due to COVID. I recently got the chance to have a 2-week vacation. I decided to accept my boyfriend's offer to see his family. I asked my boyfriend what would be served, and just checking in to see if what they would make won't have seafood/shellfish, since I'm allergic to them. The day comes and I had a good time with them, up until the time for us to eat. I noticed that the food they had mostly had either seafood in it, or was entirely seafood. I asked if they had anything else, but my boyfriend insisted I should just eat a little to not be disrespectful. I stood my ground and informed him and his family that I'm severely allergic to seafood. And after they insisted that they won't serve me or make anything that doesn't have seafood, I thanked them and left. Today, I got angry text messages from my boyfriend, upset that I disrespected him and his family, and wanted me to apologize to them. But I'm not going to. Am I the a-hole? This is a tough one. Should you protect yourself from a severe allergy attack, or should you protect your boyfriend's family's feelings? Not today, Holoby. And drop the boyfriend. He's got a medical condition where his head is stuck real deep somewhere. It blows my mind how many of these types of posts I read where an in-law family expects a daughter-in-law or sister-in-law to eat what they're allergic to. It's like, so you would rather they die? Okay then. What is disrespectful is telling someone to endanger themselves to cater to people and willing to be reasonable people. Your boyfriend is actively trying to hurt you. And his family. There's literally no reason that every dish had up have seafood in it. These people were trying to prove Opie was lying about her allergies. If she had eaten it, then she would have been blamed because she had an attack. This boyfriend is bad news, and I would dump him. My female 28 husband's male 30 older brother male 35 confessed that he's in love with me. What the hell do I do? This happened last week. I'm still shocked and have no idea what to do with this information. A little backstory. My husband and I have been friends since I was in middle school, so we've known each other and each other's families forever. We started dating after college and got married 2 years ago. Let's call my husband Greg and his older brother Michael. I've obviously known Michael just as long as I've known Greg, but in that vague peripheral way, you know, a friend's older brother. He was already well into college by the time I met and started hanging out with Greg. So until we got married, I hadn't had a lot of contact with him, except for holidays when everyone was home. Michael and his wife, let's call her Stephanie, have been separated for over a year and are in the process of getting divorced. He primarily cares for their 6-year-old son. Stephanie moved out of state. Michael's a ER physician and has been insanely busy since COVID started, especially since their son's daycare is still closed. Since I'm able to work remotely, I've stepped in to help out with babysitting. As a result, I've had more interaction with Michael, but still, it's not much. Just him getting home exhausted from work, saying thanks, me saying some version of no worries, happy to spend time with my nephew, and then leave. Nothing romantic, no ulterior motives, nothing weird. Then last week, as I was gathering up my laptop and stuff getting ready to go home, Michael said, "Hey, I really need to talk to you about something that's been bugging me." I honestly thought it was going to be that I had done something wrong in caring for his son, letting him do/eat something he wasn't supposed to or something like that. But then he essentially told me that he's been in love with me for years, and that his feelings toward me were a contributing factor in him leaving Stephanie, and seeing me with his son and coming home to me every night has been wonderful. He then said, "I understand you're with Greg, but I had to tell you how I feel." I sort of blacked out from shock, mumbled something about needing to get home, and left. I can't stress enough how little one-on-one contact Michael and I have had. Like, I don't think I've ever even hugged him. If you added up all the words we've ever spoken to each other, it might comprise a 30-minute conversation. He's almost like a father/teacher figure to me. I certainly don't feel the same way about him, and I'm blown away that not only is he apparently in love with me, how, but I was a contributing factor in his divorce? Which means Stephanie knows how he feels. Because I know some problematic people will ask, no, I have never led him on, or in anything even remotely revealing in front of him, texted him about anything other than childcare logistics, or spent more than 10 minutes alone with him. I'm honestly more confused than anything because, from my perspective, he knows nothing about me. Like, we barely talk. How the hell can he think he's in love with me? I've avoided him entirely since it happened, saying I had a bunch of meetings and couldn't babysit last week, which I feel really guilty about because I love spending time with my nephew. I haven't told anyone else, especially my husband. Please help. This is so far above my pay grade, and probably above Reddit's as well, but I have no idea what to do. I don't want to cause a weird rift between brothers, or not be able to see my nephew anymore. Any advice is welcome. Thanks.
Story time on how I got nasty with my older sister's boyfriend while she was sleeping. Okay, so boom, let's jump right into it. So I have an older sister who's 18 and I'm 16. Her boyfriend, George, let's call him George because that's his name. Well, George is 20. He is very attractive. I'm talking fine. Every time he comes over, we flirt with our eyes and whenever my sister leaves the room. And my relationship with my sister isn't bad at all. She's older than me, so she brings me places, gets me food, and helps me out with homework. You know, normal sister duties. So I don't have anything against her, but her man is just so fine. I just really don't care about my sister's feelings whatsoever. Like, at all. So after our flirting became constant between us, things got real. My sister and her boyfriend were spending the night together, but George, the boyfriend, waited for my sister to fall asleep. And when she fell asleep, things got real. Okay, so boom, like I said, George, the boyfriend, waited for my sister to fall asleep. And once she fell asleep, he came over to my room and yeah, we did the nasty. Like literally with my sister in the room next door, we literally slept together. When we were done, he went back to my sister's room and she never found out. 2 months later, they broke up because he cheated with someone else and we never seen him again. And 6 years later, my sister still doesn't know what I did. Should I tell her?